I never thought my life would collapse in one single night. I had always believed that betrayal was something that happened to other people, not me. But there I was, standing in my own kitchen, phone in my shaking hands, reading words that felt like knives cutting into my chest. Messages between my husband and another woman. Words of affection. Promises that he once made to me, now given to someone else. I remember my knees going weak. I could not breathe. My chest tightened like someone was sitting on it. The man who held me at the altar, who swore to love me for better or worse, had chosen someone else in secret. I stumbled into the living room, tears already blurring my vision. I threw the phone on the couch as if it had burned me. My whole world, the home we built, the trust we shared, the prayers we said together, suddenly felt like a lie. And in that moment, with tears pouring down my face, I screamed at God. Why me? Why would you let this happen? Have I not prayed enough? Have I not been faithful enough? Why am I the one left broken? That night, I cried until my body ached. I buried my face in the pillow so that our children, sleeping upstairs, would not hear their mother's sobs. I did not know if I hated my husband more, or hated myself for not seeing it sooner. Before I continue, I want to pause here and thank all of you watching this channel. To my subscribers, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are the reason I continue to share these real and raw stories. And to those who are new or returning viewers but have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel and energy that keeps this channel alive. And please, as soon as you hear this short hook, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. Now, let me take you deeper into my story. I grew up believing in love. I grew up believing in God's perfect plan. I married Daniel when I was 25. He was charming, kind, and carried a quiet strength that I thought was unshakable. We were the couple that people at church admired. We prayed together before meals. We volunteered. We laughed at silly things. And after 10 years of marriage, I thought we had built something unbreakable. But the truth is, no one sees what happens behind closed doors. I had been busy with the kids, with work, with making sure everyone else was taken care of. Slowly, the distance between us grew, though I never admitted it. Maybe I was too tired to notice the late nights. Maybe I trusted too much when he said he was working. Maybe I simply did not want to see what was already slipping away. That night, when I read those messages, it was not only my trust that broke. It was my identity. I was no longer the loved wife. I was the betrayed woman. Daniel came home an hour later. I sat in the living room, broken, holding his phone in my lap. His face froze when he saw me, and for the first time in my life, I watched guilt wash over him like a shadow. He opened his mouth, but I did not let him speak. How could you? I whispered. My voice cracked, my hands trembling. How could you give my place to someone else? He tried to reach for me, but I pulled away. The weight of his betrayal was too much. I spent that night in the guest room. The pillow was wet with tears. I stared at the ceiling until the sun rose, asking the same question again and again. Why me, God? Why me? But heaven was silent. The following days were a blur. I moved through the house like a ghost. I cooked for the children, helped with homework, and forced a smile, but inside, I was crumbling. Daniel begged for forgiveness, but the wound was too raw. I went to church that Sunday, but I could not sing the hymns. The words stuck in my throat. I saw couples holding hands, and it felt like salt on my wounds. I sat in the pew and wept quietly, my Bible unopened on my lap. Everywhere I turned, the question haunted me, why me? Was I not good enough? Was I not beautiful enough? Did I not love enough? I could not escape it. I cried in the shower. I cried in the car. I cried myself to sleep. I thought of leaving. I thought of packing the kids and walking away from everything. But something inside me, something I did not yet recognize as God's whisper, told me to wait. One night, when the house was silent, I fell to my knees on the bedroom floor. I was too weak to stand, too tired to pretend. With my face pressed to the carpet, I prayed the only words I could manage. God, I do not understand. I do not know how to survive this. But please, show me what to do. And that was the night I began to hear an answer. Not a loud voice, not thunder from heaven, but a quiet stirring in my soul that would guide me into the most painful and powerful season of my life. That was the night I realized the storm was not meant to destroy me, but to reshape me. The days after discovering Daniel's betrayal felt like walking through a wilderness with no map, no compass, and no strength to keep going. I woke up each morning with a knot in my chest, a pain so deep I could hardly breathe. Everywhere I turned, I saw reminders of what he had done. The kitchen table where we once prayed as a family felt empty now. The bed we shared felt like a battlefield I could not step into. Even the sound of his voice asking, "Are you okay?" made me want to scream. But the truth was, I was not okay. I was shattered. I withdrew from everyone. Friends called, but I let the phone ring. My mother asked if I needed help with the kids, but I told her I was fine. At church, I sat in the back row, trying to avoid anyone's gaze, because if someone hugged me too tightly, the dam inside me would burst. Daniel tried to apologize. He wrote me letters. He cried in front of me, and I had never seen him cry before. He begged me to give him another chance, but my heart was like a stone. Every time he reached out, I heard the echo of those words he had written to someone else. I wanted to forgive, but the pain screamed louder than forgiveness. And in my anger, I turned my face away from God. I stopped praying at night. I closed my Bible. I thought to myself, if God really loved me, he wouldn't have let this happen. One evening, I remember locking myself in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were swollen from crying, my skin pale, my shoulders heavy. I looked like a stranger. "Why me, God?" I whispered again, my voice hoarse. What did I do to deserve this? But instead of answers, there was silence. Weeks passed, and bitterness took root. I replayed the betrayal in my mind over and over until it consumed me. I compared myself to the other woman. Was she prettier? Younger? Smarter? I imagined every conversation they had, every moment they shared, until jealousy and rage made me feel like I was drowning. One night, unable to sleep, I scrolled endlessly through social media. Everyone else seemed happy. Couples smiling on date nights. Families on vacation. Husbands holding their wives' hands. And there I was, broken, humiliated, abandoned. That's when the darkest thought crept in. Maybe life would be easier if I just disappeared. I sat in the dark, tears streaming, considering if it was even worth waking up the next day. But just as that thought gripped me, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a verse of the day from a Bible app one had forgotten to delete. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34 verse 18. I froze. It was as if God himself had whispered into my despair, I am still here. I see you. I have not left you. For the first time in weeks, I felt something stir inside me, hope. Tiny, fragile hope. The next Sunday, though I wanted to stay home, something inside me pushed me to go to church. I sat quietly, arms folded, heart guarded. But then the pastor began to preach, and his words pierced through my walls. He said, sometimes God allows us to walk through fire, not to burn us, but to refine us. And when you cry out, "Why me?" God may be preparing you for a testimony you cannot see yet. My breath caught in my throat. He had spoken the very words I had been screaming in the dark, "Why me?" I went home and pulled out my Bible for the first time in weeks. It fell open to Isaiah 41 verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you, do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I read it over and over until the words soaked into my soul. For the first time since the betrayal, I did not feel abandoned. I felt held. But healing was not instant. There were still nights I cried myself to sleep. There were still mornings I could not look Daniel in the eye. There were still moments I wanted to walk away. Yet slowly, something began to shift. I started journaling my prayers again, even if they were messy and angry. I wrote, God, I don't know if I can forgive him. I don't know if I even want to. But if you're really here, if you really care, then show me how to survive this. And little by little, God answered. Not with thunder, not with sudden miracles, but with quiet mercies. A friend texted me out of the blue just to say, I don't know why, but I felt I needed to pray for you today. My daughter crawled into my lap one evening and whispered, Mommy, I love our family. A song on the radio sang about God's faithfulness, and I wept behind the wheel, feeling like the lyrics were written for me. Each of these moments was a reminder, I was not alone. Daniel still pleaded for forgiveness. At first, his words felt empty. But I noticed something different in him. He was broken too, not because he got caught, but because he had wounded the woman who trusted him most. He started praying again, even when I would not join him. He left sticky notes with verses on the fridge. He sat with the kids every night, reading them Bible stories, his voice trembling as if he knew how close he had come to losing everything. I wanted to resist. I wanted to cling to my anger. But each time I prayed, I felt God's gentle whisper, forgiveness is not about what he deserves. It's about the freedom I want to give you. And that truth shook me. Because deep down, I realized that bitterness was chaining me just as much as betrayal had broken me. I was standing at a crossroads, remain a prisoner to my pain, or allow God to lead me into freedom, even if it meant forgiving the man who hurt me. That night, as I sat on the floor of my bedroom with my Bible open, I prayed a different prayer. God, I don't know how to forgive him. But if you really want me to, you'll have to teach me. Because I can't do this on my own. And in the stillness, I felt peace for the first time in months. Not the peace of everything being fixed. Not the peace of trust instantly restored. But the peace of knowing that God was walking with me in the wilderness, and he was leading me somewhere I could not yet see. That was the moment I realized forgiveness would not be a single act. It would be a journey. A daily choice. A surrender to God's strength instead of my own. I did not know it yet, but this was the beginning of healing. This was the first step out of the wilderness and toward the answer to my desperate question, why me? And God's answer would change my life forever. Forgiveness did not come overnight. It came in pieces, in moments, in prayers whispered through tears. But slowly, as the days turned into weeks, I felt my heart soften. One evening, I walked into the living room and saw Daniel sitting on the couch, his Bible open on his lap. His head was bowed, his lips moving in prayer. He did not see me watching, but for the first time, I realized something important, he was not the same man who had betrayed me. He was broken, yes. But he was also desperate for God's mercy. Something stirred inside me. I remembered my own failures, my own seasons of running from God. I remembered how many times I had begged him for grace, and how many times he had given it freely. And then the truth hit me like a wave, if God could forgive me, how could I withhold forgiveness from Daniel? That night, I sat across from him. The room was quiet except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. My hands trembled, my voice cracked, but I finally said the words I thought I would never say. I forgive you. The moment those words left my lips, tears rolled down his face. He fell to his knees in front of me, his hands shaking as he whispered, thank you, thank you, thank you. But forgiveness was not the end. Forgiveness was the beginning. We started counseling at our church. At first, the sessions were uncomfortable. We were forced to face ugly truths about ourselves, about our marriage, and about the cracks we had ignored for years. Daniel admitted that he had been lonely, that he had let bitterness build up inside him instead of turning to me. I admitted that I had let pride keep me from truly seeing him, that I had been so busy with the kids and work that I often pushed him away. It was not an excuse for what he did. Nothing could excuse it. But it helped me understand that sin thrives in silence, in neglect, in unspoken needs. Our pastor said something that stuck with me: the enemy loves to destroy marriages, because marriage is a picture of God's covenant with his people. But what the enemy meant for evil, God can use for good, if you let him. And so, day by day, we rebuilt. We prayed together every night, even when it felt awkward. We read scripture as a family, teaching our children that even broken people can be restored by God's love. We went on walks together, relearning each other's hearts. Slowly, the bitterness lifted. Slowly, the trust began to grow back. Slowly, laughter returned to our home. One Sunday morning, our pastor invited couples to come forward for prayer. Daniel reached for my hand, and for the first time in months, I did not pull away. We walked to the altar together. As hands were laid on us, I closed my eyes and whispered, "God, thank you for not letting go of me. Thank you for not letting go of us." In that moment, I finally understood the answer to my desperate question: why me? God's answer was not, because you deserved it. His answer was not, because I wanted you to suffer. His answer was this: because I am writing a testimony through your pain. Because others will see your story and know that I am a God who restores. Because what broke you will become what heals someone else. And I wept, not with grief this time, but with gratitude. Months later, I stood in front of a women's Bible study group, sharing my story for the first time. I was nervous, but as I spoke about betrayal, forgiveness, and God's healing hand, I saw heads nodding, tears falling, hearts softening. Afterward, a woman came up to me and said, "I thought my marriage was over. I thought God had abandoned me. But hearing your story, it gives me hope." That was when I knew, my pain had not been wasted. God had turned my ashes into beauty. Today, Daniel and I are not perfect. We still have struggles, we still argue, we still have to work at choosing love every day. But our marriage is stronger now than it has ever been, not because of us, but because of God. I no longer ask, "Why me?" Instead, I thank God for using even the darkest parts of my life to bring me closer to Him. So if you are listening to this right now, broken, betrayed, abandoned, or questioning why God has allowed your suffering, hear me. God has not left you. Your pain is not wasted. And the very thing that feels like it will destroy you might become the testimony that saves someone else. Trust Him. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Because He is faithful. Always. That was my story. And if you are walking through betrayal, heartbreak, or despair, remember, healing is possible, forgiveness is possible, and with God, restoration is not just a dream, it is a promise. Thank you for listening. May this testimony remind you that no matter how far you have fallen, God's love is deeper still.